Batman the Dark Knight number 23.4, aka The Joker's Daughter, written by Ann Nocenti, art by Jorge Gianti. Probably butchered that. So, if you have not been reading Catwoman, good on you. But this is basically spinning directly out of there because we just met Joker's daughter, and this is just her backstory. This is how did she get to where she is now. So, we've got this hooded figure who's very clearly Joker's daughter, who is making her way through the Gotham Underground, which is called the Nethers. There's actually a bunch of different places, but the Nethers is the one that's like flooded and is a bunch of water features. So she's got this ugly looking cat named Cat, and basically like, okay, well, get in your bag, kitty. We've got to go through this underwater section in order to get there. So she sets up some floats and some weights in order to maneuver easier, and she makes her way into the underwater. And as she swims her way through, she explains, yeah, the Nethers, they were places that were lived in, and then all of a sudden they decided, oh, screw this place, we're going to build the Gotham Reservoir that's going to flood this place. But a lot of people didn't want to leave, so they kind of just adapted over time, and now they live off the grid. So as she's making her way through, she finds a old rusted metal gate that has some moons on it as like decorative, and she's like, oh, hey, metal, I can use that for bartering in goods. So she goes, she grabs it. She accidentally punctures some of her air supply, so she has to swim back up quickly. And as she arrives up top, she's hit with some rocks by some kids, and she's arrived in a tiny little society, a tiny little town here in the Nethers. And they make fun of her for being ugly, but she says like, oh, they just call me ugly because I don't have a mate, because I don't have a loved one. I don't want a loved one. That's stupid. Who needs that? And so she looks down in the water and she says, let me see my reflection. And she sees what she thinks is her reflection. She's like, oh, looking good. And then we get a brief flashback to her as a kid. She was anorexic. She was very gaunt and pale. And she took a razor blade to her face and just kind of cut herself up a little bit. And as she looks more into the water, she's like, wait a minute, hold on, that's not my reflection. It's a mask. No, wait, it's not a mask. It's a face. No, wait a minute, it's the Joker's face. Oh my God, it's the Joker's face. Because, you know, he had it cut off back like 3 years ago. So she takes the face, straps it to her own face, and says, well, I guess I'm borrowing the Joker's look for a while. The ugly is the new beautiful. And then we see her climbing over the rocks. Just so you know, she's taken that metal moon thing and attached it to a staff. And that's just kind of her thing now. It's her weapon. Just get used to it. So she makes her way over and she sees a man and a woman cooking food. But the woman's the one doing all the work. And the man just eats all the food and leaves her the scraps. And she says, isn't that just the way of the world? The man gets to sit back while the woman does everything. And so she jumps in. And she starts beating the guy with her moon stick. And she says, hey, who's in charge here? And everyone's like, oh my God, it's the Joker. Wait a minute. You're not the Joker. You're a woman. Oh my God, I guess you're the Joker's daughter. And she's like, I like the sound of that. Anyway, tell me again who's in charge here. And he's like, oh, his name is Sharon. He's the ferryman. And anybody who escapes from Arkham gets to live here. And you get a mate and some food and a place to live. And she's like, okay, well, let me tell you this story. And she relates this Greek story of men who were constantly fighting, and then the woman basically just went on a general strike, and that made them stop fighting. And she says, yes, all you men, you don't understand that women are not only your equals, they are your betters. So therefore, I'm going to talk to your boss and change up the patriarchy around here. And she takes the moon staff, heats it up a lot, smashes it on this guy's face to make it look like a Joker smile. So at that point, she leads the woman away, and she's like, hey, all you women, we're working together now. Don't you give in to the men at all. Don't do anything for them. Eventually, they'll have to give in to our demands. And then all of a sudden, Sharon shows up, and apparently he's the most beautiful man to ever exist. And it's just like, whoa, hold on, ladies, hey, we share everything down here. Like, what's going on? Is Joker's daughter is like, you are way too pretty to be that nice. You are definitely got to be a prick. So at that point, she launches and attacks him. And he keeps on saying like, hey, we can talk this out. This doesn't have to be a fight. And she's like, of course it does. You're evil. So He wrestles her down at the bottom of this lake, easily overpowering her because she has no fighting ability whatsoever. And she's like, oh, I'm ugly and I'm no good. And so he throws her back onto the shore and just says, hey, I was raised by women. We used to be women down here. But then eventually the men dug the extra tunnels and they needed to be compensated. So the men started ruling. If you think we should switch back to women, let's bring it up with the entire tribe, get them to vote on it, and then we'll do that. But regardless of what happens, we're happy to take you in. And she's like, nah, screw that. I would rather die here than live on my knees. And he's just like, oh my God, what the hell is your backstory? And so we get her backstory, which is she grew up to like perfect family, like all this was perfect. Everything was idyllic, and she was also beautiful within her own right. But she had a very macabre sense. She made a mobile out of knives. Her pet bird hung itself, which that's just impressive. And her parents looked on in horror, like, "Oh God, she's not normal. We got to fix this." Eventually, she brought home like a stray dog, which had some scarring on its face, which she loved. The father saying, like, "Nope, that's a disgusting dog. That's not living here." Threw it back out. So then she took the box cutter to herself, cut up her own face. Eventually, they had her forcibly brought into a hospital. They started doing plastic surgery on her. They gave her medicine for pain, but she just took it out because she enjoyed the pain. And then while they were doing plastic surgery on her, she like squirmed around a lot to cause even more damage. So when her parents get her back, she's even more deformed and even more flawed. And her parents, of course, are like, what in the hell is wrong with this chick, man? She is crazy. So we need to send her away. And the parents are like arguing over that, but eventually she overhears. By the way, her name is Duella. We don't get a last name, but it's Duella is her name. So she ends up sneaking out and I guess just living on her own until we see her now. And she's like, yeah, so I had a pretty normal childhood, all things considered. And Sharon's like, oh my God, you have been through hell. I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, we'll gladly take you in if that's what it wants. And she's just like, oh, you'll take me. I'm not a charity case. So she starts heating up the moon thing again. And he's just like, why are you trying to, I forgive you for attacking me. We're simpatico here. And she's just like, oh, screw that. I'm remaking the world in my image. And she brands him in the face again. And we see that I guess she's been busy before meeting up with Sharon because all of the men in town have this scar on their face. And they're like, hey, Sharon, it's been like 3 hours, but all of our women are refusing to do anything for us. So we want to try doing things her way. We want the women to be in charge. Also, we don't want you in charge anymore. And Sharon's like, what are you... Guys, why are you freaking out here? And they keep on saying that the Joker's face has power within its own right. Like, they keep on fearing her specifically because she's wearing the Joker's face. And Sharon's like, guys, she's just trying to make you as ugly on the inside as you all have become on the outside. Like, it's not... This is just the Joker's stuff. This is literally the plot from Dark Knight. And she's like, well... They've all spoken, like you said, if we had a vote, that you'd agree, so everyone strip him of his leader's coat and send him on his way. And we see now Joker's daughter is sitting in the throne and saying, oh, there's a lot of beautiful things out there. Let's show what happens when the ugly takes over. To be continued in Catwoman. This was by far the one I was looking forward to the least out of the entire Villains Month. Because, like, okay, she keeps on saying this stuff of, like, oh, women should be in charge, and oh, down with, like, the patriarchy and stuff. And, like, it comes across as though Ann Nocenti thinks that that's all really bad ideas because she's putting it in the villain's mouth. And it's not like they do anything where they're saying, like, actually, you're right. We agree with you on this one thing, but you're going about it the wrong way. They just flat out say, like, no, you're being stupid. This whole issue. Except that Sharon is the one who's saying, like, okay, well, we can investigate those ideas. There's no problem with that. But then as soon as that's given the option, she's like, no, I don't want your pity. It's like, well, what do you want? Because it just seems to me like this character exists for the sole purpose of saying, there are crazy people and these crazy people are into radical feminism. And it's like, That's a poor message, guys. That's a really bad message here. So, it's out on top of that, it's out of Catwoman, and I'm already out of it. So, is it creepy in its own weird way? I guess so. Not any worse than like Ventriloquist, but it's just so like, who cares by the time you hit the end of it? I got to give this one, I'll give it a 4.5. I don't think that this issue in its own right is poorly written. I just think that the character is not thought out well enough. I think that you could do something with like obsessive fan sort of thing of like, oh, she loves the Joker's ideals so much that she became this. But her becoming like, it seems like she had all these ideas before she put on Joker's face. So yeah, I can't give it any higher than a 4.5. And frankly, I think that's a little bit lenient. But I appreciate the character of Sharon. Too bad he'll never be seen again.